Welcome to the Conscious Solutions Podcast, where we highlight leaders, founders, and practitioners who are shaping the future of healing, recovery, and human transformation. This show is dedicated to the people who help the people, the innovators building clinics, nonprofits, recovery programs, wellness practices, and community-based solutions that create real impact in the world. I'm Brandon Barclay, and over the last 8 years, I've had the privilege of working alongside organizations across the alternative wellness and mental health landscape, from retreat centers and practitioners to nonprofits, recovery programs, and community-driven initiatives. And one thing has become very clear. The people doing the most meaningful work are often the ones with the least support, visibility, and resources. And this podcast is designed to change that by sharing the real stories, lessons, challenges, and breakthroughs from the leaders on the front line of human healing. Thanks for being here, and let's dive into today's conversation. You're listening to the Conscious Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Barclay, and today I'm joined by Susannah Rose Stokes, a mother and founder of Metamorphosis, a global ecosystem focused on ethical stewardship and infrastructure for regenerative medicines, with offerings like the Sanctuary membership and the Emergence mentorship journey. This conversation is about leadership reality, what it takes to build programs, community, and sustainable operations in a complex and fast-evolving space. For those tuning in for the first time, we are Conscious Solutions. We help mission-driven organizations build stronger operational foundations, generate aligned growth, and streamline their back-end systems. This includes Foundation, a bespoke operating system built around how your organization actually works, alongside B2B lead generation and CRM automation builds that eliminate friction and support scale. If you're ready to strengthen the systems under your mission, DM us the word growth. Susannah, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the Conscious Solutions Podcast.
Thank you, Brandon. I am delighted to be here with you.
I would love for you to start by sharing where in the world you're joining us from.
Yes, I am coming to you from just peeking out of winter, Asheville, North Carolina, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains here.
Amazing. And I know we were saying earlier you've had a little bit of a deeper winter than maybe is traditional up there.
Yes, we had a full-on blizzard, actually a couple of them, which for this area is rare. We don't often get that much snow, but it was beautiful. It was a winter wonderland. But we are all praying for a quick entry into spring because it was very chilly this winter. So we're looking forward to the sunshine, which you have an abundance of in Fort Lauderdale, of course.
We do. And has this area been home for you in North Carolina, or is this a new kind of area for you?
Well, if we go back into my family system, my grandfather, I'm actually in a lake house that has been owned by my family since the 1970s. My grandfather bought it here, and the lake where I am at used to be the home of the Methodist Church, and my grandfather was a bishop in the Methodist Church. All of his elders were also missionaries and pastors and deacons and all the leadership of the faith. And I came back to Asheville because I was called here by my ancestors, kind of energetically. A lot of people in Asheville will tell you, you say, why did you come to Asheville? And they're like, I was called. There's no real explanation because this land calls very loudly. But my father's lineage goes back in North Carolina, and we actually have a county, Stokes County in North Carolina. We settled here in the 1600s. But I was born in Georgia, outside of Atlanta, and then have come up here and been in this area most of my life. But I was in the military as well. So I've lived all over. I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived in Florida. My whole family now lives in Florida. So I'm truly an American woman, you might say.
Incredible. And I love that the connection to spirit and spirituality really runs deep in your family.
Mhm. Yeah. It does. I mean, it's definitely in my blood, and as I sometimes share in my journey, I had to go, like many of us, I had to go real far away and be like, I hate this. This is not right, and go through the whole disillusionment process of breaking down all of my belief systems and going far away from what I knew to be Christianity, to come back to my own belief system, which is something we can discuss on this call, of basically why Metamorphosis exists, to encourage people to have their own belief system, what we call decentralized spirituality, which does fit in with conscious business in a big way, because it's all about coming back to sovereignty. But we should also, or I might say, and we can honor and welcome in the family lineage that we're a part of, and the faith lineages that we're a part of, and just, not necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater, but recognize what no longer serves us.
So I would love for you to paint for us how you got yourself from this experience with the military and a little bit of the background, and what brought you to this desire to bring something like regenerative systems and community-based organizations to life. What did
Mhm.
that look like?
Um, like a lot of our lives, it's a constant unfolding of trust and faith, of walking blind, right? I mean, like, I really hope this is the right next step, but I do tend to be directive. When I have a North Star, I go in that direction with full trust and faith. And growing up on a blueberry farm in Georgia, my father was in the Marine Corps back during the Vietnam War. He didn't deploy, but he was in during that time. And it was such an important part of his journey of becoming a leader. And he was an entrepreneur. He's an attorney. Both my parents are attorneys, which will matter in why we're doing what we're doing at Metamorphosis and why we do it the way we do it. But he encouraged me to go into the military, and I had a few profound experiences that encouraged me to go that direction. So I set my sights on going to the Naval Academy and becoming an officer in the Marine Corps, and I did. I did all of
Wow.
those things, and then quite quickly was called to deploy to Afghanistan, and I did 2 deployments, and uh, quite quickly became very disillusioned with what we were doing. I was very quickly like, what? I'm sorry, none of this actually makes any sense. And I joined the military to become a leader, and I learned what our current leaders are leading us into. And this isn't a discussion around politics, but it is a discussion around kind of war mentality and how we are at war with ourselves, which I imagine you saw even in your one-on-one work with clients in the past. Um, and I had a moment where I was watching us target a guy on a motorbike who was probably a teenager, and he basically dug a hole and put an IED, which is an improvised explosive device. And I'm sitting in our little metal box where we controlled all of the airspace and all the aircraft. And I'm watching the footage from a drone follow him with a Hellfire missile. And we drop a Hellfire missile, $100,000 missile on this guy because he, at that moment, was an enemy. And I thought to myself, everybody around me cheered. And they're like, yeah, get him. And it was like a football game. And I was like, I had a moment of cognitive dissonance. And I was like, why are we cheering for this man's death? And I started to ask myself who this boy was, who this person was. I was like, he's probably a farmer's son. He was probably threatened by other people who really are the, quote, enemy, whatever we determine that to be. And in the midst of that disillusioning process, the heat signature of the guy gets up and runs away. He actually didn't die. He made it.
Oh, wow.
out of that blast. It was astounding. It was a miracle. And that's when I cheered internally. I was like, yeah, like
Mhm.
I'm not going to cheer for death in this way.
Right.
Um, or murder, And so that's when I realized what we were, doing, and that a lot of the deaths that were associated with this competitive, against each other, othering energy, which we also see in the marketplace, in business. We see the war mentality everywhere, and that led me, of course, directly into the corporate world after I got out of the Marine Corps and I went to work for Facebook, and I saw a different kind of warfare there, of people battling themselves in different ways, and it was a little higher consciousness, but it was still an internal warfare, and I spent some time in a startup where I got to see like the real ick of Silicon Valley, and I was like, these systems are not regenerative and they're not conscious. They're highly unconscious. It's just a bunch of like toddlers throwing things at each other. So let's figure out how we can do this better. And that's what led me on the journey of awakening and creating a new kind of business.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, there's there's quite a bit of distance still between, even the coming out of Silicon Valley to what Metamorphosis is now.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's bridge that gap. How did Metamorphosis come to be? What did that birthing process look like? And maybe connect the dots for us where you were seeing kind of this landscape still taking place, of a nature of human
Mhm.
expression, maybe so to speak, that wasn't doing it for you.
Yes. Um, Yeah, so we got to the point where I was at Facebook thinking that I was the coolest thing ever. I had essentially my dream job, right? And I got to that place of doing my dream job with all these amazing people, and everything around me looked perfect. I had the perfect partner and car and condo and all the things. And I felt empty.
Mm.
None of it mattered. I was in deep pain. I was disembodied, dissociated, sitting on the shuttle going to and from the campus, staring out the window like a zombie. And the only thing I could see in my eye line that mattered were the trees that they'd planted on the side of the freeway. And I was like, that's it right there. That's real. Everything else is not. And that was a hard place to be. I spent a period of time that was deeply in disillusionment and breaking down a lot of my belief systems. I went fully away from the concept of God. I would say I wasn't full on atheist, but I was very agnostic. Went away from all kinds of, faith systems that I'd been born and raised in, values that I'd been born and raised in, got into uh, a community that actually led me into plant medicine. And what that did was I had my first journey with LSD, and I happened to be in this gorgeous valley in California overlooking mountains on the other side with all these cedar trees up the mountain. And I had this moment that was almost like the polar opposite to the moment of disillusionment with in Afghanistan, right? It was this moment where I breathed and the whole mountain and the trees breathed. And I could feel us breathing together. And I had this profound remembering of interconnectedness that was a feeling that I had on the farm that I grew up on. I was like, I remember this feeling. This is not a new feeling. I've had this before. And that woke up a little light in me. And so I went on a deep dive into the journey of plant medicine. And I very quickly realized The medicine kept telling me, you know, Susannah, this isn't just for recreation. Like, yes, you could go out, you can take mushrooms, go on a hike. You can do all those things, but these are deeply healing technologies. This is a species that is very powerful, and it should be held in a ceremonial setting. And I would say that creating Metamorphosis from those little moments, each one of those moments of remembering is what it was. It was this process of remembering not only who I am, but the gifts, the natural gifts and talents that I have within myself. And we held our first retreat and we called it Metamorphosis. We just were like, well, what what represents the most change that we can possibly call in? And the name Metamorphosis appeared. And of course, the image of the butterfly was a perfect image for that. And we held that in 2021. And there was actually interesting. We were talking about blizzards. There was an epic blizzard that weekend because we were in Colorado, and it was like we were like, we're not sure everybody's going to make it here. My car did a 360 on one of the roads. It was like just huge energy. And after that retreat, we had 9 people who came, and everyone made it. Everybody was like, you can't stop here. This has to keep going. And so it was really a process of staying present, because I wasn't initially envisioning like, I'm going to do this thing. I was doing that with other things. Like I started a 501c3 nonprofit that was a consulting agency and things like that after I got out of the corporate world. That one I had big visions and big plans for. All my ego was like, we're going to do it this way. It's going to be great. And Metamorphosis was just this process of staying present with like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? And I just became more and more of a vessel. And the last thing I'll say about that process of receiving and remembering and listening is that it was an initiation process, which is what the Emergence program that we have is based on. It's based on my own journey of remembering and hearing and listening to my purpose that was already within me. There's really nothing new about any of it.
Incredible. And I really love the connection with presence being kind of the vehicle for the emergence. I was gonna ask you if what you thought you were doing at the beginning is what it has turned into. And so you kind of answered that in that way, right?
No. The short answer is absolutely not. I have always known that I was in some way designed to lead something large, like a collective field of something. Growing up, my father was very adamant that I would be the president of the United States, and he meant it 1000%. So I was groomed for that. as we know, that is not where I want to be for obvious reasons. But I did know that anything I started to create would in some way grow to be a scaling venture that would be bigger and have more access for many people. But when I started Metamorphosis, it was literally just the one retreat, and it was 3 of us. It was 3 amazing women, my 2 original co-founders, and they one was doing more operations, and then the other woman was co-facilitating the ceremonies with me, and we slowly but surely just got the insight that, okay, we'll do more retreats. But then at some point it became clear that obviously just 3 people can't be running retreats. That's going to exhaust you. And also we learned very quickly that in terms of cash flow, retreats are not a real money-making endeavor. They are a devotional endeavor, and they are like a loyalty breeding endeavor, but they are not there to really make money, and that's on purpose. And so that led to like, well, what are the things that we can grow that are not trading just time for money? And how do we set up passive versions of income? Because it became very clear I wasn't going to be able to go back into like the corporate world. I wasn't going to be able to go get a job somewhere else. That was just so not possible at that point, that I had to just keep going deeper and to be like, okay, how do we create a regenerative system and a new way of business that's much more feminine in nature? And of course, now that I am a mother of a human child, a human being, how do I set up systems that are truly passive, that create and generate income for myself, for our team, for the entire community? And how do we heal everybody in the process? Like, how does everybody become healed when they touch this business? And that was a big question. Yeah.
So we started with retreats, and at
Mm-hmm.
some point, the realization of scaling that becomes limited, right? You're like, well,
Very
I've
much.
only got so many retreats that I can do in a year. There's only
Yep.
so many people you can have at a retreat. At some
Yep.
point, you price yourself out of being able to fill retreats.
Yep.
So this reality kind of sets in. It's like, okay, how else are we going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
You have a team of people there.
Yep.
What were some of the other problems that you were solving for, or hurdles that you were trying to get over, as you started to look at, okay, what needs to be different about this structure so that this can be sustainable?
I think a lot of it comes back to scarcity. This whole process of building and birthing Metamorphosis has been a journey of healing something within myself. So every step of the way, I'm healing something within myself. And the ongoing journey of healing something within myself, or the main, maybe one of the major frequencies that I'm healing, is scarcity coming into abundance. And so it started with scarcity of money, which is like the very tangible, like, I don't have enough money. And of course, at the time, my partner at the time was able to support me. I started to pull in other kinds of income. I would be doing ceremonies here and there, individual ceremonies. But then I realized, like, we only have enough, a certain amount of money, and then I only have a certain amount of time. So that's when time came in, and I was like, oh man, okay, time is money. And there's a whole recalibration there, which of course was a phrase that my father actually said all the time: time is money, because he is an attorney. So he charged hourly. And, um, and I had to get out of both of those to realize, like, if we start to um, attune new facilitators, and then we have some sort of revenue model or profit share from those facilitators, then we can expand our in-person retreats, events. And I would say the big challenge there was then, um, how do I do aligned marketing once I got into that next stage? And this was a big one, because I did not want to be doing marketing or sales growth from a place of scarcity and from a place of competition or capitalistic taking, extraction. So we have quite literally turned almost everything that the system is on its head in a lot of ways, because we chose to do it differently from a perspective of regeneration. There is always enough. You are enough. You are worthy. You do not need us in order to be worthy. You are naturally worthy. And all of those things are not the way that sales and marketing is done right now. It's all based in, you need this product in order to survive or to be worthy of love. You need to give us give us your money in exchange for it. And actually, we even have I've done many things that were not exchanged for money, and lots of devotional giving and gifting. which is the culture that we want to live in. And then also in other sales and marketing is there's a limited supply. There's a limited supply, or there's a limited time that you can get it in. And we want to ensure that like how limited this is. So supply and demand ensures that you buy it at a higher price. We did not want to do it that way. I didn't want to do it that way. And that has created a steadiness to our growth that I would say is less unicorn-like, right? We're not the ones that are going to be making you $1 billion in 5 years, but this company has grown steadily and attracted people, both clients and team members, who are in the same mindset of we are all enough, with or without metamorphosis. And that is huge. It's huge. It felt impossible for a little while. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to market this product by saying, just come try it. That was the other piece, was like, there's a term for this and I don't remember the term. Maybe someone who's listening will remember it, but there's a term for a product that you don't know the outcome to before you buy it, where you have to buy it in trust and faith, and then you get the benefits of it. You can't even really know, you can't tangibly experience what could possibly be on the other side. And that is what we are offering, is faith, is something that you cannot see or feel before you even invest in it. And that is also, that felt very, very impossible. But it's possible.
Well, and it's so the nature of transformational work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we hold a retreat or a ceremony, and people are going through their transformational process, and even as the facilitators, you don't know where they're going. You don't know what it looks like on the other side of that for them, what the liberation is that they need. Um, we only discover that in the process, or by going through the process. And something else that you said about, taking the time to slowly build, it made me think of the way that concrete cures.
Oh, I love
And
that. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you want
Brilliant.
concrete to cure slowly,
Mm.
the
Mm.
slower that the concrete cures, the harder
Mm.
it is, the stronger it is.
Wow.
If it cures too quickly, it has a tendency to crumble.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know that about concrete, but that makes total sense.
So
Wow.
it made me think of that in the way that you spoke about building, your community and your offerings and the kind of that natural cadence versus trying to, spend a bunch on marketing and get as many followers as possible. And is it sustainable is really the question, right? Um, I'm curious though. So what did you do with your marketing?
Yeah. I mean, we're still in the journey of honing in on the ways, and I'll tell you some of the things that we have tried and that have worked well, and what we have ultimately come to in this moment. First is, the business needs to, so in a conscious business, the first thing that matters when it comes to full abundance, and we have enough time, we have enough space, we have enough energy, and embodying that energy so that then we draw those kinds of individuals to the business, is we have to get in alignment with universe, with earth. Like, everything has to be fully in alignment. So we got to do things seasonally. Our team takes lots of time off in the winter so that we can hibernate and integrate. There are basically ebbs and flows of business based on the seasonal flows of our earth. And So it's brilliant that we, started this call talking about, the energy of spring arriving in Asheville. And one of the reasons why this talk is happening right now, because it's time for us to kind of come out of that hibernation. And then in my world, I also go all the way up into the cosmos, into astrology and things like that, and put it all in alignment. So when we put the word out for something, when we launch something, we're doing it at a very particular time in which we know there will be the greatest impact and people's ears and hearts will be most open to it. So that was a big piece, aligned marketing. And then the other piece was we tried going out into social media and doing the like machine gun effect, right? Like the shotgun effect, which is like see as many people as you possibly can, and then like certain people will grab on. And our work right now in this season, especially based on the stigma around psychedelics and things like that, the shotgun effect doesn't work for us right now. That may at some point in the normalization of the psychedelic world may happen, but I spent money on building funnels and going on Instagram and paying for ads and basically, I'm like my alma mater. I'm like, I worked at Instagram. I worked at Facebook. Come on, guys. But they kicked me off the platforms. They didn't ban us, but they just, funneled the visibility. And so it was a very clear sign from the universe, from the energy, that wasn't the place we were supposed to be. We weren't getting the leads that were really attuned to our offerings. We were also not offering the right thing at that time. And that's what I realized was like we were still offering time for money programs that were piecemeal, like 3-month containers. And our business wasn't meant to be that. We're not meant to be like coaching 3-month containers. We're meant to be holding a full membership program where it's much more decentralized and each person has a whole platform that they can engage with. And so what we've come to now in the spirit of Christ consciousness is like, let's walk around on foot and talk to people and
Mm-hmm.
shake their hand and look them in the eye and say, this is what we do at Metamorphosis. And so one by one by one, we will build this network of humans and they will get to feel it through us. So this year, we're focusing heavily on conferences and festivals. And at festivals, we did one last year. There was a prototype event where we went and we partnered with some of the existing facilitators and we served microdosing alongside their like yoga experience or the sound healing experience. And we got to literally, with each person, I get chills thinking about this, over 150 people ingested the medicine that we work with, the sacrament we work with, and we got to serve each individual person and walk up to them and pray with them and bless them. And it was a meaningful human interaction. And so in a world where we are relying on technology in such big ways, people are deeply craving those live, like, I want to touch your skin. And that's where we're going right now, is like we're rolling up our sleeves and we're going to get out there and talk to people.
The It's so needed, right? The one of my
Mm-hmm.
taglines you'll see out there is community is the medicine. We need these
Yes.
spaces, right? We need that human touch. And
Mm-hmm.
so bless you for making that your mission. It is so necessary, especially for the time that we're living in right now. And it's a great segue. I would love to hear what the kind of bird's eye view of the offerings of Metamorphosis is now. What's that look like today? You have regenerative stewardship, you've got different programs that people can be engaged with, you have a platform that people are engaging with. I saw there's uh, an AI component to, it looks like,
Yeah.
what your members
Yep.
get access to. So give us the full view of what's going on over there today.
So in the spirit of that decentralized spirituality, yes, we get to, shake everybody's hand. And once you're in, there are different ways that you can engage. And I just got back from a pilgrimage to Egypt, and I realized that the temples were built where they actually start with the Holy of Holies, which is the place where the high priest can go and the initiates. And then right outside of that is called the sanctuary. And we had been building and just about to launch a product called the sanctuary membership, well before I went to Egypt. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so I'll describe it in terms of a temple just like that, because that's how we built it. I first built Emergence, which is our initiation program, our mentorship journey that you mentioned. And that is a tighter container for entrepreneurs, for visionaries of the new earth, of the new paradigm, who want to build conscious businesses. And we've basically bottled the way that we built Metamorphosis and put it into that program. And then it's an incubator that takes you all the way through 12 to 15 months. If you stay on for the additional 3, you can become a medicine server. So you can actually serve medicine under the church that we have, the 508c1a, which allows for us to do it legally. And that's that attorney part of me that comes from my parents. And that container is up to 12 people at a time, and those are longer, a 12 to 15 month process. And then upon graduation, we incubate the business. We put money and resources and all the things into it, and then there's a profit share and equity stake in the business.
Wow.
I sometimes say like a new earth Y Combinator, but without all the extraction from big financial companies. So we want to seed the new earth with entrepreneurs who are deeply aligned with themselves and with living intelligence. So that is Emergence. That's the holy of holies of our temple. And then just on a layer outside of that, for the greater public, or those people who are really on a healing journey, you can join the sanctuary. And the sanctuary is an annual membership that's $14.40 per year, and so $120 per month. And you get access to seasonal one-on-one sessions with our conscious collective facilitator network. So you get 4 sessions with healers, and then you get seasonal microdosing kits with our sacrament Trinity, and that's a psilocybin. And then we're bringing on San Pedro Wachuma, and they have different purposes, the different protocols. But that program, like you were mentioning about community as medicine, yes, hallelujah, that's it. We also have community calls and lots of community gatherings and connectedness. So you're not healing alone. You're healing in a community of people who are also healing and awakening. But that's our next layer of membership. And I'm sure at some point we'll build, the other layers of the temple, but those are the 2 that we really focus on right now. And what's cool is it's a regenerative system. So through our Emergence system, or through our Emergence initiation program, one of our previous graduates had the idea for Conscious Collective, which is a platform where you can book one-on-one sessions with healers. And she's building it. And so we're building it, and then we're using it in the sanctuary and beta testing it there. And that's what's been happening, is like every single graduate is in some way then coming back and contributing back into the Metamorphosis system. And the system operates like an ecosystem, a family. And there's absolutely no way my human mind could have ever come up with this. Like literally, it's just not possible. But with the help of being surrendered to higher guidance, here it is. And I'll add on that the process works, and the process for healing scarcity works. And I know this because we just were given most beautiful confirmation where we raised $5 million from an aligned investor. And we're going to be putting some of that into a physical retreat center that we're buying here in Asheville in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have a physical sanctuary space for you to come to. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Super huge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a confirmation.
I'm in awe every day. I am in awe. And we have a group. We just started a cohort of emergence initiates on 2/2 on February 2nd, and they will run through their program for 12 months or 15 months. And we have 10 initiates, and our first cohort had 6. So this is our second cohort. And I'm beaming. I'm just beaming with pride. And I will also offer, because I didn't share as much of this, but like the shadow work of this process to get here was real. I mean, we
Mm.
had, our little family was abandoned by the father of my child. There was a whole meltdown in my whole family. Like it was a mess. It was a dark, dark road for a long while. And that's one reason why we built Emergence, because we want you to walk through that valley of the shadow of death, but you don't have to do it alone. You can do it with
Mhm.
people who have gone there, and you can do it with community by your side.
It's amazing. And I think it really speaks to the reality that life is going to keep happening, even if you're an entrepreneur with, mission aligned business that's, being pulled into existence, that the other stuff is still going to be occurring. And
Yeah.
what systems of support do we have to be able to make it through those hard times and keep our businesses going, um, without losing our marbles in the process, right?
And you might lose your marbles a few times, and people might say you've lost your marbles, but this is also the healing of people pleasing, of knowing that you are enough, that you get to be as crazy along the way as you need to be, to express as many emotions through, because those who are leaders right now, especially business leaders, entrepreneurs, mothers, leaders of their families, communities, activists, I see these people as like priests and priestesses. You're doing collective work. You're doing work on behalf of the collective around you. So your processes are going to be bigger. They're going to be bigger. They're going to be more intense. They're going to look less normal. And you've got to be okay with that process of just taking up space, because we're doing a lot of cleaning work right now.
Absolutely. And I think it also speaks to making sure that we give ourselves that time. I really like how you spoke to the seasonality and that tuning to the seasons, right? That you've got the hibernation in the winter, that you create that space for things to quiet down, to take care of the home, whether that's internal or external, whatever that might be. And I find that for myself, as an entrepreneur, we can easily feel that never-ending to-do list kind of right on our shoulder. And it's like, okay, I could have a walk on the beach, or I could be checking things off my to-do list, right? And it's easy to be caught in
Yes.
that, well, checking the things off the to-do list is the important thing to do. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not regenerating our own energy stores, that, then we can come to a place where we don't have the energy that is needed for our business, for ourselves, for our families, and then it really doesn't serve.
1000%. And this is the deep nature of regenerative, is there needs to be restorative practice for things to be sustainable and regenerative. And I got a download the other day that just popped into my mind. It was a phrase, and it said, it was like sassy from the universe, from God. It said, if you do less, you'll have less to do. And I was like,
Ooh.
Okay. And it just reminded me, it was like, stop busying yourself. Stop it. Because all of that is
Yes.
contrived. When you stop busying yourself, when you are more still, when you move slower and more easefully, guess what? The actions that you take will be much more purposeful. So you will literally have less to do. Period.
That's amazing. That's a great, it's like, thank you, universe. That's a good
Thanks.
one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And
Yeah.
I, for myself, I'm trying not to use the word busy,
Uh huh. Amen. That's a great recalibration.
right? It's easy to look at my calendar and anybody would be like, damn, bro, you're busy. And I would say that myself. I'm like, oh, I'm busy, I'm busy. And I'm really trying to reorient myself to that word specifically. Because it's a gift, like I love what's on my calendar now. Is it,
Mhm.
do I have to tend to it? And there are commitments and responsibilities with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I don't want to relate to the work that I'm doing day in and day out as busy work.
That word, I went through a recalibration of that word too, because I remember saying to people, "Oh, I'm so busy," or "I'm too busy," like, "I'm really busy today." Even when I like, caught up with something, or "How are you doing?" "I'm busy." I'm like, "What is that even? That's not how I am."
Right? Yeah, exactly.
What?
Exactly.
And so I started to actually answer that question and say, oh, I am feeling this or I am experiencing this. And then eventually I would say things like, I am, um, I am engaged. I am really productive this week. I've got a lot of things that are coming into my field and it's exciting. Some moments it's overwhelming, but it's exciting. And the more I spoke about it from that perspective of like I have an abundance of work and effort that I get to do because if even if you ask the question like, oh, if you won the lottery today, what would you be doing? I'm like, this. I'd be doing this. I would have the same agenda. I'd have the same calendar. There would be no changes because I
Hmm.
want to be this busy with this kind of soul work. So I think the energy of busy can be reframed into engaged and into um, efforting in the most beautiful way.
Very well said. Thank you. Is there, what does Metamorphosis need at this point? You've got an amazing cohort that just started. You've got a great year ahead of you. What is it that Metamorphosis needs right now?
Mm. We need community. We need people to join our community. We have a public Discord channel that people can join and follow. We need people to, yeah, kind of look up. I'm like, look up out of your phone, out of your laptop, look up into the world around you and see what's out there. And we do need a little bit of normalization of plant medicine and regenerative earth medicines. So a destigmatizing of that. But I would say just be present with the world around you. Start tuning into everything around you because we need community members who are waking up and who are here and who are embodied and are ready to see everything, which also includes the filth. There's a lot of ick on the planet right now. And we've got to be more embodied to be able to like fully take in like, oh wow, this feels heavy, this feels intense, versus numbing ourselves. um, and that's why some of our programs are built specifically to help you get off of other coping mechanisms like pharmaceuticals and SSRIs and functional alcoholism. But we want you to like, yeah, lift your head out of whatever technological device is holding it and look up and quite literally smell the roses. That's what
Hmm.
we need.
For our listeners who are maybe inspired by Metamorphosis, by the cohorts, by your community, where can they find you? What's the best way for them to touch base? You just mentioned Discord. How do people
Mhm.
get in contact?
Yes. So go to our website, metamorphosis.global. You can find everything from there. And we do have, I didn't speak a lot about it, but we do have an AI guide that we're building out. And she's a microdosing guide. So you can engage with her for free. She's a gift to the community. And her name is Sophia. And she'll guide you on little prompts and insights and practices. And um, and then from there join us on our Discord channel and sign up for our newsletter, because we have some incredible writers who offer wisdom about conscious business and the new paradigm there. And join the sanctuary. Join the sanctuary. You can join anytime. We ship out our microdosing kits seasonally, so we'll close the spring shipping on March 3rd. This may come out after that, and then we'll have another one in the summer. So every season you'll get a shipment, and then you'll get access to this network of healers that are hand selected. I mean, they're really incredible beings across all modalities. But join the sanctuary, visit our website, check us out, sign up for our newsletter, be in touch. And you can always email us at connect@metamorphosis.ventures. And I will gladly have a one-on-one call with you, whatever, personal connection you want. I'm here for that, because we need each other at this moment in time.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I would love to give you the opportunity to share any kind of final thoughts, words of wisdom, maybe touch on something we haven't spoken about yet. Is there anything you'd like to bring it home with?
Your phrase "community is medicine" or "community as medicine" is ringing in my head, because our one of our taglines at Metamorphosis is "Your healing is my healing is our healing." And there's a concept now in Buddhism that Buddha taught, that the next Buddha is a Sangha, and Sangha means
Mm-hmm.
community. That the age of gurus is over. I am not a guru. No one in Metamorphosis is. We are stronger together. And the age of healing in isolation, in individual spaces and rooms and under cold fluorescent lights in hospitals, is over. We get to heal together in each other's arms, surrounded by nature, and recognize that when you are healing, whatever you are healing, even in your own body, is healing something for your whole family system. And that, to me, is sacred. That's a sacred process. And I want to be right there alongside you in that journey. So, yeah, that's what I'll leave it with.
Community is the medicine. Yeah. Susannah, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a delightful conversation.
Brandon, yeah, I love you already. I, I would like to keep you in my world, please. And yeah, I would like to have like an in-person visit with you sometime too, because what you are creating with your community, with your work to help people through their processes, and healing is awakening. It's the same thing. So you're helping people wake up. Um, that is such a sacred mission, brother. And I'm so, so, so grateful that you exist in the world, and that you're open to having these conversations.
Well, thank you for that. And let's make the in-person happen. I end up in North Carolina every so often, several times a year. So, and if the beach or a little bit warmer weather is ever calling, we've got space for you. So come on down.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Here's to more community.
Absolutely, to more community. So thank you to all those who've been tuned in today. This is another episode of the Conscious Solutions podcast. Every conversation reminds us that systems of care are only as strong as the people within them. If today's episode resonated, please share it forward. I'm Brandon Barclay. Stay present, stay curious, and keep building with hearts. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Solutions podcast and for being part of a movement that supports the people who support the people. If today's conversation inspired you, share it forward, follow the show, and stay connected for upcoming episodes. And if you're a founder, a practitioner, or an organization doing meaningful work in the healing or wellness space, or you're looking for support in building systems that help your mission grow, reach out. I'd love to hear your story and explore what's possible. Until next time, stay curious and keep building with heart.